Believe it or not, when a woman doesn't call or text you, most men immediately assume one thing: rejection. The mind jumps to conclusions, the ego feels wounded, and anxiety begins to whisper stories that may not even be true. But Stoic wisdom asks us to pause, step back, and look deeper, because silence, when understood correctly, is not always an insult. Sometimes it is information, and sometimes it is a mirror. A Stoic man understands that he cannot control another person's actions, only his own reactions. When a woman goes silent, the first test is not about her behavior, but about your inner state. Do you feel restless? Do you feel the urge to chase, explain, or demand attention? If so, Stoicism teaches that the real issue is not the silence itself, but the attachment behind it. Epictetus once said that we suffer not because of events, but because of the meaning we assign to them. Her silence is the event, your interpretation is the suffering. Now here is the hard truth many avoid. When a woman doesn't call or text you, it often means she is not emotionally invested at the same level you are. This is not cruelty. This is reality. Interest expresses itself through effort. People make time for what they value. Stoicism does not sugarcoat this fact, nor does it turn it into bitterness. Instead, it teaches acceptance without resentment. If her actions show distance, believe the actions, not the excuses you create in your head. At the same time, Stoic wisdom warns against taking everything personally. Silence can mean many things. She may be overwhelmed, distracted, or focused on her own life. The Stoic does not assume importance where there may be none. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that other people act according to their own nature and circumstances. Their behavior is about them, not about you. This mindset protects you from ego-driven fantasies and unnecessary emotional pain. However, there is a deeper layer here. Sometimes silence is a test, not a manipulative game, but a natural filter. Many women unconsciously observe how a man handles uncertainty. Does he remain calm, grounded, and self-respecting? Or does he unravel, sending multiple messages, seeking validation and abandoning his own life? Stoicism teaches that dignity is maintained in restraint. A man who can sit comfortably in silence demonstrates emotional strength, and emotional strength is rare. When you respond to silence with silence, not out of spite but out of self-control, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You show that your happiness is not dependent on constant external validation. You show that you have a full life purpose and inner stability. Seneca wrote that the greatest power a person can possess is mastery over themselves. Silence gives you the opportunity to practice that mastery. There is also a lesson of detachment here. When you respond to silence with silence, not out of spite but out of self-control, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You show that your happiness is not dependent on constant external validation. You show that you have a full life purpose and inner stability. Seneca wrote that the greatest power a person can possess is mastery over themselves. Silence gives you the opportunity to practice that mastery. There is also a lesson of detachment here. Stoicism encourages us to desire things lightly, not because love or connection is weak, but because clinging destroys clarity. When you are overly attached to a specific outcome, you lose your ability to see the situation clearly. Her silence becomes a threat instead of a signal. A Stoic man observes patterns, not isolated moments. One missed text means nothing. Consistent absence of effort means everything. And here is where self-respect enters the conversation. If a woman consistently does not call or text, and you are always the one initiating, Stoicism advises withdrawal, not confrontation, not to punish but to preserve your own dignity. You do not beg for interest. You do not negotiate attraction. You simply redirect your energy toward what is within your control. Your purpose, your growth, your discipline. This is not about playing games. Stoicism rejects manipulation. It is about alignment. When effort is mutual, communication flows naturally. When it is not, forcing it only creates imbalance and resentment. Silence in this sense is clarity. It removes illusions. It tells you where you stand without harsh words. So believe it or not, when a woman doesn't call or text you, it is not an invitation to chase. It is an invitation to reflect, to observe your emotional reactions, to strengthen your self-control, to remember that your value does not rise or fall with someone else's attention. A Stoic man does not fear silence, he uses it. When a woman doesn't call or text you, Stoicism urges you to look beyond surface meaning and into the structure of human desire. Most men are taught, directly or indirectly, that attention equals worth. So when attention disappears, self-doubt appears. But Stoic philosophy dismantles this illusion. Your worth was never granted by her messages, and it is not taken away by her silence. The moment you internalize this, you regain power. A Stoic man understands a crucial distinction. Interest is voluntary, not owed. No one is obligated to desire you, prioritize you, or keep you entertained. This understanding removes entitlement, which is one of the greatest sources of emotional suffering. When you expect consistency without mutual commitment, you set yourself up for disappointment. Silence then feels like betrayal when in reality, it is simply honesty expressed through behavior rather than words. There is also the uncomfortable truth that attraction often fades. When a man becomes emotionally dependent, constant availability, instant replies, and excessive reassurance can unconsciously signal a lack of inner direction. Stoicism does not teach emotional coldness but emotional independence. When your life revolves around waiting for a notification, you have already surrendered control of your emotional state, and people, especially women, instinctively sense this imbalance. This is why Stoic wisdom emphasizes purpose above attachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote about returning again and again to one's work, one's duty, one's path. When your days are full, silence does not feel loud. When your mission is clear, distraction loses its grip. A woman not texting you becomes a minor detail, not a defining event. Ironically, this inner fullness often restores attraction, not because you tried to create distance, but because you stopped needing attention to feel complete. Another Stoic lesson hidden in silence is patience. Modern culture trains us for instant responses, instant gratification, instant reassurance. Stoicism stands in direct opposition to this. It teaches endurance, waiting without anxiety, and trusting time to reveal truth. If someone values you, consistency will eventually show. If they don't, clarity will arrive just as surely. In both cases, patience saves you from impulsive reactions that damage your dignity. Silence also reveals boundaries. If a woman disappears and later returns as if nothing happened, how you respond reveals your self-respect. Do you accept inconsistency just to keep connection alive? Or do you calmly adjust your investment to match her effort? Stoicism is not about punishment or ultimatums. It is about balance. You give what is given. You invest where there is reciprocity. Anything else is self-betrayal disguised as loyalty. There is a quiet confidence in not chasing explanations. Stoic men do not demand closure for every emotional discomfort. When a woman doesn't call or text you, Stoicism ultimately leads you to one final, uncomfortable realization. Silence forces you to confront yourself. There is nowhere to hide when external validation disappears. No messages to distract you, no reassurance to lean on. Just you, your thoughts, and your emotional discipline. And for a Stoic man, this is not a punishment. It is training. Most emotional suffering comes from resistance. You resist the idea that someone may not feel the same. You resist uncertainty. You resist loss of control. Stoicism teaches the opposite approach. Acceptance. Not passive resignation, but clear-eyed acknowledgement of reality. If she is silent, she is silent. Arguing with this fact in your mind changes nothing. Accepting it restores peace. This acceptance creates emotional freedom. The moment you stop waiting, checking, and hoping, you reclaim your time and mental energy. You are no longer emotionally stationed by your phone. You return to your body, your work, your goals. This shift is subtle but powerful. It transforms you from someone reacting to life into someone directing it. And this is where true confidence is built, not in being chosen, but in choosing yourself. Stoicism also teaches that attachment to outcomes weakens character. Wanting connection is human. Needing it to feel whole is dangerous. When a woman doesn't text and your mood collapses, it reveals dependency. Stoic practice invites you to see this dependency without judgment, not to shame yourself, but to correct course. Independence is not isolation. It is the ability to stand firm, regardless of external fluctuations. Another lesson hidden in silence is impermanence. Feelings change. Circumstances shift. People move in and out of our lives. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that everything is temporary. When you deeply understand this, you stop clinging. You enjoy connection when it exists, and you release it when it fades. This makes you calmer, lighter, and paradoxically more attractive to others. There is also strength in non-reactivity. Silence tempts you to send emotional messages, long explanations, or subtle guilt-tripping texts. Stoicism teaches restraint, not because expressing emotion is weak, but because impulsive expression often comes from fear, not clarity. A Stoic man speaks when grounded, not when emotionally flooded. If communication resumes, it does so cleanly. If it doesn't, nothing undignified was said in desperation. At this stage, silence becomes a filter. It removes people who are unsure, inconsistent, or misaligned with your values. And that is not a loss. It is refinement. Stoicism values quality over quantity, depth over attention. One meaningful connection is worth more than endless shallow validation. If silence clears the path for better alignment, it has served its purpose. Importantly, the Stoic does not harden his heart. He does not become cold, cynical, or hostile toward women. That is not strength, that is armor built from fear. True Stoic strength remains open but unattached, calm but not indifferent, interested but not dependent. This balance is rare, and it is forged precisely in moments like silence. When a woman doesn't call or text you, the question is no longer, "What does this mean about me?" but "How will I respond?" Will you abandon your values to chase reassurance? Or will you stand steady, respecting both her freedom and your own worth? Stoicism teaches that character is revealed in moments of uncertainty, not comfort. In the end, silence is not rejection or approval. It is a situation. And situations do not define a Stoic man. His response does. He does not beg for clarity. He creates it internally. He does not lose himself waiting for someone else's attention. He invests deeper into becoming a man who is whole, grounded, and unshaken.